I'm Ruth MacKenzie. I'm guessing few of you in the room this evening have even heard of the organization I represent, the Canadian Association of Gift Planners, or CAGP. We are an organization made up of an incredibly passionate, optimistic group of people, fundraisers and advisors in tax, law, and finance, who help people amplify the impact of their charitable giving by donating assets instead of just cash. One of the ways that happens that you're probably most familiar with is leaving a gift to a charity in a will. As a quick sidebar, I'm not at all a religious person, but the irony is not lost on me of talking about this particular subject here in a church, where generosity and immortality are not uncommon subjects. When I was a 23-year-old scrappy activist, some cynical 35-year-old said to me, you know, there's never going to be a revolution. And I know they were just trying to inject some realism into my idealism, but I mention it because I still believe in revolution. I believe in change that can be revolutionary. Actually, when I think of charitable giving, we are somewhat in the midst of a revolution, albeit a notion of revolution that perhaps has more middle-aged nuance than my 23-year-old self envisioned. And I say that at a time when so many people feel a sense of pessimism and uncertainty. Global warming is real. For many, personal debt is almost unmanageable. The 2017 Deloitte Millennial Survey showed that many young professionals are worried about what's going on in the world, about their own futures, their job security, for instance. There is an inevitability of change, but there are also two things that won't change, that will always be part of our futures. The first thing that won't change is the need the world has for generosity. That need will always be there. It may look different, it may be more complex, but it will always be there. Many of the causes that will be crucial in the future will reflect where we've gotten to because of our actions today, but they will continue to rely on the generosity of generations to come. The second thing that won't change is the need we human beings have to connect, to belong, to be part of a community that in the future may be more diverse, more global, more broad. It's a need that compels us to share, to tell stories. We look for meaning in our lives and purpose. And this is where the optimism that my colleagues and I share comes from, because despite the fact that donations to charities have flatlined, or that fewer people are giving, or that we know that many of those with enormous capacity to give are punching well below their weight, philanthropy is still one of the most powerful paths to fulfilling those needs, the world's need for generosity and the human need for connection. I know the imagery the word philanthropist conjures up, that very wealthy individual donating millions of dollars and getting their name on a building. But in reality, that's a small niche of philanthropy. Here's the revolutionary thing. I'm talking about a notion of philanthropy that is utterly achievable for almost everyone in this room. Planned giving is certainly not new to the landscape of philanthropy, but it is an approach that is under-recognized and its potential not nearly harnessed to its full effect. And in a world of growing inequality, it's the ultimate path to egalitarianism in charitable giving. We can't and we won't leave philanthropy up to the philanthropists. It belongs to all of us. It's not about hubris, but it is about a person who maybe didn't fit in as a kid, taking a few dollars a month to set up an insurance policy that results in a six-figure gift, more than they ever thought they could give, to the Boys and Girls Club in their community to help other kids who are experiencing bullying. Did you even know you could do that? Many people don't. Including a charity in your will is planting the seed of a tree under whose shade you will never sit. For many who've given throughout their lives, that $25 to someone running a charity race, or the $5 a month to the Walrus. It doesn't say that here, I just made that up. Philanthropy, our will is often a time when most Canadians are astounded by their ability to make a much more significant gift. For many, tax benefits may not be an incentive to give, but they do allow us to plant a bigger tree, or plant a bigger seed for a bigger tree. It democratizes our ability to give, and in that context, everyone can be a philanthropist. It's about impact, it's about changing the world, it's about revolution. In a digitized world that has brought us both closer together and further apart, philanthropy can be the connector to the human condition. And part of that human condition is aspirational. What do you want to achieve in your life? How do you want to be remembered? Giving feels good. We know from research that when we give, the pleasure center in our brain is activated, the area of our brain that releases dopamine. But when we think about giving in a planned way, in a thoughtful, reflective way, something entirely different happens. Dr. Russell James at Texas Tech University wanted to understand more about how the brain reacts to giving, but in particular, how the brain reacts to bequest giving. That's charity speak for a gift in your will. So he put people in an MRI machine, and he read them planned giving brochures. I kid you not. And this is where it gets really interesting. It wasn't the pleasure center of their brain that was activated. It was an entirely different area. It was the region of the brain which connects the memories of your life, events and things that happened to you, what Dr. James calls your personal autobiography. It's activated when you mentally travel back in time. What a concept, using generosity to tell your life story. Of course, that means we're reminded of our mortality, and that may be something that is intrinsically uncomfortable. But creating space to reflect on past events, to connect to those emotional moments in your life, can take us to the future as well. The impact we want to have, the connectedness we seek, how we want to be remembered. And if it connects us to how we want to be remembered, well, the best-selling author, David Eagleman, said, we all have 3 deaths. The first death is when our body ceases to function. The second death is when our body is consigned to the grave. The third death is that moment sometime in the future when your name is spoken for the very last time. I and my colleagues at the Canadian Association of Gift Planners have the immense privilege of helping people lengthen the time until their third death. Not with names on buildings, but through a biography written in good works for years to come. Immortality through generosity. How revolutionary is that? Thank you.